Hi, my name is Britton Bostick. I am the City of Fayetteville's Long Range Planning and Special Projects Manager. I'm really excited that it's time to introduce the Permit Ready Building Design Program to Fayetteville. As an overview of the program, there will be about 30 plans that are pre approved for building permit. That means that there will be 30 unique designs in the program, giving a lot of opportunity and flexibility. This is implemented as a 3-year pilot program that gives us a lot of great opportunities to get the program going, to identify improvements, and then to look at the success of the program at the end of the first 3 years and consider whether or not we want to expand this to additional neighborhoods in Fayetteville. We anticipate that this will be ready to go in late spring, early summer. What we want to do today is talk about the goals and the background of the program. We want to talk about the program features and what you can expect. We'll give you a preview of the plan sets that you can expect to see and an idea what those will look like. We know everybody's wanting to know. We'll go through some frequently asked questions and then share how you can contact me if you have other questions that we didn't answer in this webinar. We do have a program website all ready to go. And the easiest way to get to it is to do a web search for Permit Ready Fayetteville. And it should take you to the first search result, which is the City of Fayetteville's website. This is where we'll put program updates. Let's talk about the proposed program area. This is a combination of both the downtown master plan and the Walker Park neighborhood plan areas. These are areas that are some of the most historic or the oldest neighborhoods in Fayetteville. We do have master plans for both the downtown and the Walker Park neighborhood area, and those have resulted in some specific land use allowances and land use regulations that we have in place today. We found that there would be some technical issues with using all of the plan areas, and I want to talk about those. One, we're not proposing to put housing in Walker Park, and so the park is excluded from the program area. We also looked at sites that might have steep slopes or other technical challenges that would require a level of engineering that wouldn't be a good fit for this permit ready building program. We also looked at areas of downtown that are very densely developed or that need to have a higher intensity of development that wouldn't be suitable for this program. It was really important to start this program with a strong connection to the neighborhood fabric that's already in place. We decided to go with a wider variety of plan sets than some of the cities that we've seen this program in before. I had the opportunity to produce a housing assessment for the city of Fayetteville and presented that in October 2023. And one of the things we identified in that housing assessment was one, because of our population growth, we need more housing. Two, we also needed a variety of housing types. Fayetteville is pretty good at single family residential and pretty good at student housing because we have a lot of students and we have a lot of families in Fayetteville. We would like to be able to provide support for additional housing types that provide what you may have heard called gentle density. For example, you might have room for a backyard cottage. You might have room for a duplex as a way to share your home with a family member or as a way to earn additional income. And so we wanted to reduce some of the pain point or some of the challenges that our builders, developers, or even our homeowners experience going through the permitting process. We also wanted to make high quality plans accessible. Neighborhood compatibility is one of the key issues that was identified when we talked to people about the development of additional housing in general. And so, what's nice about this and what I think is really successful about this program is that we're providing high quality designs for these specific neighborhoods so that they are a good fit and feel very comfortable within the existing neighborhoods. Three really important things to take away from this session are that this is free. Yes, it's free. So the city of Fayetteville is paying the costs for these plan sets to be available. There will be no cost for using these rather than having to go out and hire an architect or a designer to produce plans for you. You can access these plans free via the city. This is also a voluntary program. So you are not required to use these plans and you are not required to build a new building if you are in the program area. This is completely voluntary. It's for people who are looking to build additional housing, but maybe aren't sure where to start or aren't sure how they can go about getting plan sets and maybe who don't have a lot of experience meeting the city of Fayetteville's building codes and other standards. This is a pilot program. As we get started, we're going to start at a scale that is feasible to successfully provide a great level of customer service. Also, to have some good feedback from our builders and property owner community to let us know what's working well about the program and what can be improved so that we can continue to make those improvements as we get this ready. We want to make sure that this is working really well before we start looking at scaling it up citywide. As a long range planner, one of my roles in the city of Fayetteville is to implement our comprehensive plan, a big overarching plan that coordinates the city's vision and goals and lays out a series of steps that we need to take in order to achieve our goals. City Plan 2040, the City of Fayetteville comprehensive plan, had an action item, which was create pre-approved building types for identified neighborhoods. We've identified those neighborhoods, that's downtown and the Walker Park neighborhood. And a lot of the feedback we heard is how important it is for our neighbors to have new homes that don't feel out of place. We also got a lot of feedback about sidewalk permitting delaying infill projects. Sometimes the sidewalk construction requirement can be really challenging, both in the permitting and the inspection process. We wanted to take this opportunity to be able to address that and get that streamlined. We've also heard that lot standards can limit homeownership opportunities. All of our zoning districts have requirements for lot size and lot width. We have lot standards that require a larger lot than is financially feasible. And so we wanted to look at opportunities to reduce costs for housing overall, something that we know is really important to Fayetteville. And then finally, development standards oftentimes are the most successful for brand new development in previously undeveloped places. We have an almost 200-year-old city. Some of our development standards may not be the best suited or the best calibrated for small infill sites. You can imagine very small residential construction sites where the standards might have requirements that seem a little bit too cumbersome or a little bit too onerous for the scale of development that's happening. We are early on in permit-ready programs being implemented across the United States. Cities like Kalamazoo, Michigan, South Bend, Indiana, Seattle, Washington, Stockton, California, Claremore, Oklahoma have all implemented programs of this type. We've tended to see the West Coast cities focused on accessory dwelling units or ADUs, backyard cottages primarily. Kalamazoo and South Bend have implemented programs that include more housing types, but they still have a limited variety of designs. So even though Kalamazoo has had 48 houses constructed, they still have a very limited number of designs. There have been enough of these programs implemented that we've been able to do some great learning from other cities' experiences while still being at the forefront of this type of program. A big reason why we went with more designs rather than fewer designs is we learned that the variety of building types is so important to a program's success. Let's get into the buildings themselves. When we looked at our residential building designs, it was important that we look at the scale of existing buildings in the neighborhood. What you can expect to see is a variety of floor plans, typically 1 to 3 bedrooms and 1 to 2.5 bathrooms per dwelling unit or per house. And these will be between 500 and 1,600 square feet. So we're not talking about coming in with really large houses that would feel out of scale. Again, those historic homes in the downtown and the Walker Park neighborhoods are design inspiration for the program. So these are small scale building types that would do well in most situations. We're talking accessory dwelling units or ADUs, those backyard cottages, traditional houses, duplexes, and then also townhouses. To talk more about the designs, I'd like to introduce Matt Hoffman. Matt is with our project consultant, NBL Planning. Matt, can you show us what some of the designs look like today?
Sure. The first thing I want to say is I know everyone's excited about this part. This also happens to be the most challenging part of these programs. If you study pre-approved building programs across the country, some of them have struggled because it's really difficult to predict where the market's going to go, where consumer preferences are going, where new building codes are headed. One of the things that makes the Fayetteville program unique is our ability to say, you know what, if the building's not getting built enough, we can take it out and put something else in. A code changes, we can put something else in. If a building is too popular, we can change the buildings. Another thing I want to say, a lot of really talented architects lived here, and that's one of the reasons that we have such an eclectic set of building types in our town. There are any number of excellent architects who can help you with a custom project. What we're looking to do, as Britton mentioned, is try to create something that's familiar, particularly in the historic context of our town, which is heavily based on folk Victorian buildings, craftsman buildings, as opposed to a kind of high Victorian style where you might see the gingerbreading and the fish scales. Folk Victorian is going to be a little bit more sober. It's still going to have some of the high pitched roofs, but sober architectural detailing, nothing over the top. This is the workforce housing of architectural styles. Let's get into it. We'll start with the small end of the catalog here. This building represents an interesting opportunity. It could fit in a backyard. It could fit on a small lot facing a street. It could even fit in a courtyard, facing a courtyard as part of a bungalow court. Here's a similar building, just formulated differently. This is, again, a very small footprint, 16 by 26 with the front porch. So there's actually very few backyards that this would not fit in. Still a one bedroom. And you might not think of this as a replacement or an alternative to a traditional single family house, but this is an alternative to the larger apartment buildings in town. This offers similar amenities for someone who's looking at that level of price in terms of a for rent price or a for sale price. Here's another building. This is a traditional single family house, but you'll notice that the porch here is on the short side of the building. So it's meant to be oriented towards the street. You have a smaller building frontage than what you might have seen with buildings that were constructed in, say, the 70s or the 80s. Site-wise, it's a little bit more efficient, but it's still just on one level. So we have a master bedroom that's on one level. We have all the bedrooms on one level, which is a great option for folks who are looking to age in place. You might contrast that with the next example, which is similar in program, same number of bedrooms, and even still with a master down, but this is in a two-story format that is a little bit more site efficient. If we could only get one of the previous building on a lot, maybe we can subdivide that lot into two pieces and get two of these in a tandem configuration. And this is interesting stylistically that starts to meld some of those craftsman elements with the columns, with some of the folk Victorian elements that we talked about. Britton mentioned that we do have several duplexes and some townhouses. We thought this was an opportunity to reframe the way we look at duplexes in particular. Everyone is familiar with a traditional duplex, which is a side-by-side configuration where you see two front doors, maybe even see two sets of garage doors facing the street. From a planning perspective, this is very similar. It's a side-by-side duplex. There's one unit on the left, one unit on the right facing the street. But the way the architecture has been articulated, 9 out of 10 people would think this was just a normal single family house. Here's another variation on duplexes. This one happens to be a front back, meaning there's one unit that faces the street and then there's another unit behind it as opposed to beside it. We have a number of different variations on this one. It's what you might think of as an asymmetrical duplex. So there's a larger unit in back. You can imagine that might be inhabited by someone who built the building and owns it. And then a smaller unit in the front that could be rented out to supplement income or to help pay the mortgage on the whole building. Finally, here's that side-by-side configuration. This one's a kind of traditional townhouse. So you can imagine we're showing this as a pair of two. This could also be built as a set of 3 or 4 in a row. The city of Fayetteville doesn't have a great tradition extending back hundreds of years like so many other cities do in terms of building great townhouses, but it is a really important piece when we think of what it's going to take to create attainable housing in the future, to create great urbanism, great streetscapes at a human scale, and efficiencies in terms of construction costs. So we did want to include several designs along these lines.
Matt, thank you so much. We are looking at starting the program with about 30 unique designs, and we are still in the process of narrowing those down. We welcome feedback on that. Just web search Permit Ready Fayetteville, and my contact information is at the top right of the page. You can connect with me either by calling me or shooting me an email, and I'd be glad to talk to you more. We want to go through some frequently asked questions that I'm already getting a lot or that we've heard over the course of the program. We want to try to make sure that information is easily available. So let's get y'all some answers. Big question I'm starting to get right now: who can use the plans? As long as you own property or have the approval to work with property in the program area, you can use it. If you need assistance understanding whether or not you're in the program area, feel free to contact me and I'll be happy to help with that. Are the plans really free to use? Yes, we will not be charging a fee to use the plans. You still will need to pay any fees that are associated with your building permit or any other kind of development application that you may have for your property. But the plan sets themselves are going to be available to our customers at no cost to them. That's all covered as part of this program. This is a way for people to have access to quality plan sets and to engage with the building process, especially if you're looking to do something smaller scale, something like a backyard cottage that you think shouldn't be that difficult to do, but it turns out there's drawing requirements and code requirements that you may not be familiar with. What does permit ready mean? This is a really good question. Some people may have heard this initially as a pre approved building design program, and you'll often hear them call that in different cities across the United States. And that's how it was stated in our city's comprehensive plan. What we call things is important, and we want to set expectations successfully. So when we say permit ready, we mean that the plan set that you would receive is ready to submit for a building permit. Now, depending on your site, there may be additional documents needed. The plan sets that are provided are designed to meet our codes and be ready to get a building permit. And if you have questions about that, we're happy to assist. You can contact me directly. Is this going to make everything look the same? No, that's not going to be the case. One, because this is a voluntary program, it gives us some opportunities to provide guidance to how these buildings are built and how they're constructed and how they become part of existing neighborhood fabric. We have a standard that you aren't able to just copy the same building all the way down the street. We say that you have to provide variety and use a variety of different housing types. The other thing is personal preference is very strong. And as much as people might be using the same or similar plans, maybe even sometimes close by, you will have the opportunity to make adjustments that fit your individual preferences. And that always results in buildings looking a little bit different. Even if someone on one block used a plan and maybe they liked blue and they liked wood siding the most, and they had a particular way that they wanted their windows to look, maybe somebody who used this plan on the next block over would have different preferences for their windows or their paint color or even their roof color and the roof shingles. This is going to naturally encourage people to express some design elements individually. And I think we'll take care of that sameness that is certainly a concern. If this is a good idea, why aren't we doing it citywide? This is a great question. The project area that we have right now for this program is about 320 acres. While 320 acres is really big, it is about 1,200 individual properties. It's not nearly as big as the city of Fayetteville as a whole, which is about 35 square miles and tens of thousands of individual properties. We want to do it at a scale where we have a great opportunity to get good feedback and get that feedback implemented so that the program can be successful, not only so that we can offer great customer service, but also so that we can make sure the technology that supports and underpins this program is integrated with our current systems. The other reason is we would have to provide a much larger variety of designs. Most of Fayetteville's neighborhoods were constructed after the 1960s. Believe it or not, our town was a whole lot smaller up until the middle of the 20th century. To provide plan sets that would match all of our unique neighborhoods would be a much larger project than this was intended to be. So it's wise for us to start at a manageable scale and to start in neighborhoods where we see the most need to have infill designs that are compatible with the existing neighborhood. The downtown and Walker Park neighborhoods have some of the highest rates of redevelopment in our city currently. And a big reason why is these are also some of the oldest homes in Fayetteville. And buildings usually only last for so many decades before they either need major rehabilitation or they've gone through their useful life and are ready to be replaced. As this is implemented as one of our housing solutions, we are looking at the opportunity to expand in the future. Permits aren't the only problem. Does this address anything else? So we have been in communication with our builder and developer community throughout this process, And if we haven't talked to you already, I would love to talk to you about this program and get your feedback. So, if permits aren't the only problem and there's more to the home building process that needs to be addressed, does this program do any of that? And I'm excited to say it does. The number one concern we heard is that when the city requires sidewalk construction, when new houses are built, especially in areas that are already existing neighborhoods, that sidewalk construction can be very difficult, very expensive, and very cumbersome to do. And a lot of times, home builders are not also sidewalk builders. So, what we're looking to do is to have an alternate standard that would allow you to pay fee in lieu for sidewalk rather than constructing it yourself. And that would put the burden on the city to construct the sidewalk at a later point in time and get those gaps filled and not have to have those done individually one at a time when new housing comes in. And the other thing that we got a lot of feedback on was our stormwater requirements. And so, how does that get addressed with this program? Again, it's going to be site specific. Depending on the site you have, you might have different requirements. But we're looking at a way to fast track the design of stormwater management for the site, give a calculation based tool to be able to use to both locate your stormwater management on the site and also calculate the size that you would need. And that would be part of the supplemental information that would be part of what you receive. This is a big question that we get asked by our planning commission. How will you decide if this pilot is successful? How do we know that this has been good and that we want to continue it? We have a few different metrics that we'll be looking at. It is important to note again that the portfolio can be changed as we get feedback on what works well and what maybe doesn't work as well, what's really attractive and what isn't. We want to be measuring the number of inquiries. We also track the amount of time it takes between when you submit for a permit and when you receive your building permit. If it takes a lot of time to get a building permit, then this won't be working quite as intended. We want to make sure that we've got the shortest timelines possible between the time you submit and the time you've got that building permit in your hand. We also want to look at how much time it takes between the time you're issued a building permit to the time you're issued a certificate of occupancy, signaling that you've successfully completed your building project. The faster those go, the faster we have more housing for our community and the less cost there is in the construction process. Finally, we want to look at how many of these building types are used and how many permits are successfully issued. What if I can't find a building that's right for me? I.e., what if I don't like any of your plan sets? That's okay. This isn't meant to be the right fit for everyone. And we know that we can't offer what a custom design or a custom build. If you can't find the right design for you, please let us know what you're looking for because there may be an opportunity for us to adjust our portfolio and be able to provide that for you in the future. That feedback's also really helpful so that we can stay up to date with market preferences and know what kind of housing needs people have. Just as a reminder, you can find our project information as well as any updates on our Permit Ready Building Design Program webpage. My contact information is up at the top. You can call or email me. And when the program is ready to go, we'll be sure to have links and information here. And I'm happy to take any questions. In the meantime, please do call or email me and I will get back to you very promptly.